All right, cool. Well, yeah, I wanted to talk with you a little bit because we did work together and we had a damn good time.
We
And
did.
I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about like why you in specific, someone who's obviously a phenomenal guitar player in like many facets. And I mean, obviously you've actually recorded albums with Michael Pond, my favorite bass player of all time, from my favorite band of all time, Symphony X. And you have what I think is so cool, the humblest mindset that I think is crucial for anyone who's trying to get better at anything, is that even with all the stuff that you've accomplished and how fantastic of a guitarist I know you are, you're still seeking out like, but it could be better. But there could be more. And like, can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's after many years of making albums and playing different styles of music, I get to reinvent myself every 2 or 3 years or so. And when I say reinvent myself, like I don't mean like change my style, but kind of discover new things. And I figured this time, you know, I can keep doing it myself, or I can actually get you know, proper coaching and lessons, because there's the whole obviously discovering new licks, new tricks, new things about theory. There's also the fact that I mentioned also there was some basic stuff I kind of missed on when I started playing guitar, and cover some of my bases obviously, but there's the whole mindset of kind of break down some habits that you have that you're used to, learn things by yourself in your own way, but sometimes you need somebody else to tell you, hey, let's look at a new perspective right there. Let's see how this new perspective can make you better as a guitarist. And this is why, I needed to reinvent myself, but reinvent the way I'm gonna reinvent myself. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but and that's where the whole like seeking out lessons comes into play. Obviously, having somebody else with as much experience and has a different upbringing, but also in a way kind of shares some of the basic stuff. We share the same um, interest for shredding and etc. But also we both like to incorporate musical elements from other genres into our style, because you and we have the same mindset that metal playing is at its best when you combine elements of jazz, blues, rock, and whatnot. And I guess part of me wanting to reinvent myself was to go back to the roots and y- you know incorporate those concepts, of those of their other musical genres, and um, develop them further. And also all the whole a lot of the stuff you show me, just for mechanics, like alternate picking exercises and economy picking exercises and stuff. That was of great help too for many reasons, because it kind of puts some of the holes in my playing in a spotlight. You know what I mean? And this is, I think it doesn't matter how long you've been playing. If you've been playing 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years, there's always going to be holes in your playing. No one is perfect, and the only thing you can do, uh, the best thing you can do in that situation is to have somebody else show you the holes in your playing and tell you, here's a way you can patch up these holes. You know what I mean? Um, and I think the best way to do that, like I said, is to you can only just do so much yourself. But when you have somebody else helping you, coaching you, that's the best way you can actually go through that whole process. Whether it's reinventing yourself or uh, patching holes in your playing. And when I talk about reinventing myself, for me, it's a gradual process. It's not gonna happen overnight. You
Right.
know, you're gonna sit around, you're gonna work on some stuff, but eventually some of that knowledge, sometimes it clicks immediately. Sometimes you absorb that knowledge and it clicks later. You know what I mean? It's not the same for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it was kind of a gradual thing. We were working on concepts and stuff, and it kind of I use this knowledge and these tips and these new mechanics to help myself reach another level while I was working on probably the most challenging recording I've ever made, which is the first Fragment album called Gloire Éternelle, and that really made it easier for me to like I gotta surpass myself, get new knowledge, get new perspective and techniques, and that was like the perfect timing for me. And
Awesome.
so yeah, so I think going back to your point, like why would a guitarist of my experience and like the would seek out lessons? It's because um, I think as a guitar player, the moment you said I don't need to learn anything else, I don't need to be taught anything else, this is you just sign your death certificate as a guitarist. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you're gone, you're dead. It's like you're not gonna get farther than that. If you have this mindset. So eliminating this mindset, that was the first step for me. Because I figured, if I do that, I'm gonna stagnate forever. And the only way to not stagnate is to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So you were recording. You just touched on so many beautiful things, by the way, and that's really cool to hear. And you were in fact working on a recording. A lot of times when we were getting together, we'd be talking about stuff like little things. What should I do here? And like again, these are things that obviously you'd be well able to play over, but just like um, having another perspective on this stuff is kind of something you were seeking out. So like, when did you make the transition where you decided or kind of agreed, okay, actually, it would be sick right now to be coached by someone or to have this new perspective? Like, what was the turning point for you?
Turning point for me was during the recording. I was just listening to my takes, and it's like, oh, this sounds great, but it sounds like stuff I've already recorded for this other band or this other band or this other band um, years before. And obviously, it's good to have your own signature style and your own like recognizable licks. But that was the turning point. It's like, hey, let's work on this new thing I have in mind. I hear in my head, but I don't know how to fully materialize it. And just having help from someone can just help me um, just improve many facets of my playing or just my phrasing in general, just so I can make my this recording better. That was a turning point. Just listening to myself basically play and just like, this is good, but it can be better. And the best way to reach the other level is, you know, get lessons. Go back to the roots and to the drawing board, and let's break down everything that's bothering me about um, some stuff. Like I said, I was kind of missing, from the start. So that was the turning point. Like just listening to my own takes, my own recordings, and also just listening to other styles of music and being like, what's the best way to mix that with metal playing. And what if I don't need to go through the hardships of trying to figure it out by myself? I could do that. I've always done that. But what if there's a simpler way? And the simpler way sometimes just is just out there on the internet or next door, just thinking, somebody else to give you another perspective. Because that's the whole thing about lessons. It's like you're so used to being like alone in your head, just like in your own world. Sometimes you need somebody else to just like come in and like introduce you to a new world, their world basically.
I mean, did you find that to be at all beneficial to have that outside perspective? Because like there's a lot of things I can talk about, like when I first took you on, and I was thinking like right away, all right, let me listen to this guy, because I'm gonna check out these albums, and like I'm blown away, and immediately my first thoughts were, okay, so Phil obviously knows how to shred. He can play sweep picked arpeggios and the slide tapping and all this, and you have radical phrasing and vibrato, like that's all dialed in. So my first thought was like, okay, so what can I show you that's not necessarily like better, like obviously there's probably small percentages you can increase the stuff that you're so good at right now, but my thought process was right away, okay, what can we do? What can I show you that's not necessarily in the style that you're doing right now that can complement your style? And the first thing was like, well, why don't we just do some basic pentatonic blues stuff? I didn't hear any of that on the album,
Mm.
And and then obviously, yeah, when we got into the jazz improvisation later on, and thinking about that, because just like as a metal guitarist myself, that is then kind of introduced to this crazy chord changing type of playing. I don't know. I might be answering the question for you right now, but what was beneficial about having that other perspective, or not to load the question, was it beneficial to have like a different perspective or something?
Well, it was beneficial. The main reason why it was beneficial, especially talking about the stuff you just mentioned, is I'm a guitarist, but I'm primarily a songwriter. You know, written music for many bands, and one of the most important things is like, yes, you gotta, as guitarists, we gotta maintain our guitar abilities. But as a songwriter, um, learning about these, I never went to musical school, and learning about all of this was just it gave me new perspectives on how um, a lot of the stuff I write, believe it or not, it may seem complex at first, but it's all based on chords, man. Chord progressions, and just talking about and delving into an improvisation, and studying theories and scales and how they truly work. For me, it was something I always done by ear, but seeing it in, like, when you put the theory into practice, that's how develop new ways of, like, you kind of change your songwriting habits after a while, you know. And a lot of the first fragment song was already written by the time we started doing lessons together, but I actually changed some stuff in the recording while we were doing so. I actually mentioned that in the album documentary, like how some of the tracks were already recorded, but I went back and re-recorded them, changed some of the arrangements, because I felt like the musical arrangements, some of the progressions could be more colorful. And, I think sometimes, man, it's like you gotta, as a metal guitarist, like obviously you're used to the classical progressions and the scales and whatnot, but when you go into other styles of music, your whole entire world is completely uh shattered, man. It's like it's a new thing. It's like, oh, I can actually do that, and it's just taking ideas from flamenco and jazz musicians and turning your music into something else after. And that's the main benefit for me, um, going into these other styles of music and just playing over them and learning how to play over them. And it gives me an idea how to play over that, but actually after that it gives me an idea to how to construct really interesting chord progressions from the stuff I've learned. You know what I mean? And this is where I shine the most. It's like when I find these cool chord progressions, I can make really effective arrangements, whether it's for death metal or power metal or even doom metal. I like to write in metal genres, but the concept stays the same. My songwriting at its core stays the same despite the difference of some genre. And having these tools at my disposal just helps me write music in the respective genre with a more deeper knowledge of what I'm actually trying to do and what I'm trying to portray. I have stuff that I'm hearing in my head, but sometimes you gotta have a little bit more tools at your disposal to really take what you have in your head and transpose it into musical form. And I think we all owe ourselves to go back to the roots and really discover the fundamentals of songwriting through other styles of music. And this is how I think true potential is achieved as metal songwriters, is when you actually inspire yourself from other styles of music. And the best way to do that is exactly the way we did.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, that's a hell of a compliment. So thanks, man. But I mean, it's a testament to what you said. A lot of the stuff that we did was always kind of geared off of like what you were excited about, and then what you said about being a songwriter first. That's huge, because we did, when we started to look at some of these basic jazz jam tracks. What you end up finding is, wow, now here's a way that I never would have thought to construct a chord progression, or that take a left turn. And then, so you're saying you actually took inspiration from some of those tracks. I think we did like Bossa Dorado was like the most interesting jazz track checked out, and you were inspired by that, or like All of Me, and you actually went back and re-recorded your track. I don't even remember you telling me about that. That's insane. So
Yeah.
why did you?
Well, it's kind of masochistic, but worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, you just wanted to get it like cleaner, or just more interesting, or?
All of them. I want to have my guitar tracks have more feeling, but also some of the progressions, some just how I transition between certain key modulations. How I kind of, because I'll just take for example in the first fragment stuff. Some songs stay in the same key all the way. Sometimes the riff will start on another note in the scale, but there's some songs that have gazillion key changes, and some of these transitions were a little bit jarring, and I kind of went back and re-recorded it with like a proper transition, knowing a little bit more on how it should feel, just based on how I got inspired from navigating through chord progressions and the scales and etc. So that was a one really important thing. But also this was just about first fragment, but some stuff I'm writing right now is just, it's very simple music, but I like the idea of having more tools at my disposal to make it more interesting with just a few chord progression tricks I've learned from jamming over these tracks, and not just jamming over them, but like I said, you know, trying to discover what makes those chord progressions work, uh, how one should, play around these scales and like make them transition to one another. And here's the thing, man, about these songs and about this whole style of music, there's still stuff I'll still be like discovering along the way, because not all of it registers at once. You gotta give yourself time, because you're so used to playing metal that not all of it clicks at once. But eventually, the longer it stays with you, the longer you kind of, this is the kind of knowledge that kind of it's not like um, math in school. You know, you don't. Do you just remember stuff you learn at school with math classes? I don't because it's not useful for me. I'll remember it because I'll remember something if it's useful to me, um, even though it might not all of maybe not all of it will automatically register at first, but it will still I will still retain a memory of it. I will still retain the knowledge of it, the base of it at least because it's relevant to what I'm doing, and it's I think at the same time I think metal guitarists um, it's a tool that metal guitarists should have just at least for songwriting, you know. And I think this knowledge, I think the way I interpret knowledge is how a lot of metal guitarists work. A lot of us are very um, all over the place because it fits with the nature of our style of music. We're very all over the place. We're very eager to learn new things and go for the throat, and so when you have this in mind, this whole mindset, we want to go for something that immediately grabs our attention. And for me, this stuff grabs my attention because it's like, whoa, it's not metal, but it's great. It sounds great, and I can use that knowledge to make metal even more interesting. That's my that's that's a part of me thinks that way. Obviously, I want to be open to other styles of music and actually play them the way they are intended.
I,
But a part of me thinks that way, and I can see that. And for example, when I work with my own students, they have this same mindset as well. This goal, like I want to learn stuff that makes me a badass metal shredder. It's like, okay, well, got to think of strategies to uh, ease those concepts to them in a way. But some of them are like, oh, let's let's change the approach there. So it really depends on the individual. Coming back to your main point, though, um, I think if you're focusing on songwriters, well, I mean, even guitar shredders, but especially songwriters, I
yeah,
think I think exploring other styles of music is like extremely crucial, beyond crucial. Like, and the way we did it was, I think, the best way to dip our feet, into those other realms and you know start building a stronger foundation from that new knowledge.
yeah. What you said just recently was interesting because I realize now I'm sitting across from someone, you know, miles away, but still sitting across from the screen with you on here as someone who is not only taking in guitar lessons, absorbing guitar lessons, but then also teaches guitar as well. And then, yeah, I'm of the same uh, mindset here. So, yeah, I want to ask you like your genuine, your truthful um, feedback or thoughts on people are much of the opinion like it's really cool or it's best to kind of do it yourself so that you develop like your own style and that it's not really necessary to have someone to hold you accountable or feed you new information. So like what do you think about that mindset, because you are in fact someone that was self-taught for a long time, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So what do you think about both sides of the paradigm?
I think there's an order of things. I think I think I think everyone should have someone guiding them. You know, if they're undertaking a journey, whether it's a musical journey or they want to develop an art or a skill, guidance is super important. And then after that, then you'll develop your own style of music or your own style of playing. That should come second. You know what I mean? But the first and foremost thing is you need someone to guide you through the steps and just offer you a perspective right from the bat and to inspire you. You know what I mean? Inspire you to find your own voice. But I'll just take when I was self-taught for a long time, but I did take lessons when I was younger from an extremely amazing man of the name of Jean-François Jarry. And I was not actually into playing guitar. I was like, I figured, oh, what the hell? But he motivated me to through his teachings, motivated me to actually get interested in metal guitar. Not just metal guitar, guitar in general. And it was through his teachings and his guidance and his tips and holding me accountable that eventually I was able to branch off and start building my starting working on my own musical style, learning some of the stuff I learned by myself for sure, but it all stemmed from uh, getting lessons and just having someone that motivates you to be better.
Wow. Yeah,
So
so
I'm mostly self-taught, but not all the way. I basically like all the stuff like know how to play on beat, make chords. That came from him, and just pushing me. Eventually, that led me to point is like, okay, now I really like playing guitar because I was pushed and I was held accountable. It's like, okay, well, it may be a pain in the ass, but like after that, I see the benefit. It's like, whoa, well, let's continue, And after a while, I was like, well, okay, well, now it's like I'm getting into more serious guitar playing, and I, discovered the rest by myself. And it was a mix out of both worlds. But looking back, I see the benefits of having a guitar teacher back then, helping me, and then eventually, many years later, having you on board to work on new things and new concepts, and just like I said earlier, patching holes in my playing um, was like a return to the roots, and because the whole thing of like the realization that many years into my life, realizing that how beneficial having lessons at when I first started was, for me, it's like I think I should do it again, and go back to the drawing board for certain aspects and work my way up, I think you can only obviously, as for me, I'm obviously a freak. There's many things I've learned by myself, but there's so many things I learned by myself, but wrong. So it's like it's well, there's not necessarily a wrong way, but like some of the stuff you showed me was just like simple stuff that I was like, I kind of just overlooked that for many years because I learned stuff by myself, and it's like, and sometimes you need someone to like, you kind of veering off the path, and somebody will just grab you. It's like, oh, this will be more helpful if you do it that way, not trying to force myself, not trying to box me in, obviously, but just like showing another perspective that will actually be helpful. It's not going to harm my playing or not going to like affect my style. So trust me when I say this, from a guy like me, that you can only learn so much by yourself, and even if you do, you're probably missing out on stuff.
yeah.
Probably don't think so, but you are, And it's the same reason why I took lessons. It's the same reason why I'm taking people in for lessons. So
Right.
we have the same mindset, and it's amazing how us as guitarists, we all share the same issues. We can only try to help ourselves. That's the best way we can help ourselves. I think it's good. I think it's super important It's more important to have somebody that guides you and coaches you. That's the most important thing, man. That's the only way you can progress because there's always somebody above you, you know?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't see it as competition, but like, you know what I mean? Always someone above you that's like has something to teach you.
Right.
To deprive yourself of that is you're just doing yourself a disservice, you know what I mean?
I mean, like even if it is competitive, let it be competitive. For me, that was the greatest fuel to
Oh, yeah, that's rock and roll.
yeah.
It's rock and roll. It's like rock and roll was born because people were wanted to play louder music out of spite, and it can be healthy, you know. In a way, it's like it's friendly competition. It's like, oh, I hear this guitarist, he's so much better than me at this technique. I'm gonna get better at this technique, just to
Yeah.
like just out of spite, you know. That's
I
cool,
know.
man.
That's how Megadeth was born.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's Megadeth. Without that attitude, there would be no Megadeth. Um, in fact, I have this attitude myself for when I'm feeling uh, I don't know, uninspired for when I'm working on a certain project. Like sometimes, and eventually the inspiration comes because it's like I want to fucking play that shit live and put people on their asses, or
Yeah.
maybe not, but you know, it's like I suddenly feel inspired because I want to do it out of spite, and then in one night I'll shit out a 11-minute song, basically. Yeah, when it comes to songwriting, I'm all over the place. It take me weeks to write a 4-minute song, but sometimes I'll just one night I'll just sit and not eat and just write music like obsessively and just come out with a 10-minute song in one night. And it's like those moments are precious, and those come out. Those moments happen for like in two ways. The one is because I have a riff in my head and it just develops. I just let the inspiration flows. But the other reason it happens is because it's out of spite sometimes. So I think it's healthy.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, I think that answers the majority of my questions here. I have
I
like,
hope so.
yeah. What's your Instagram? Do you want to say your Instagram at so people can look you up, check out your new music and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Phil underscore Tougas, Tougas. Um, I'm not sure when this interview will be posted, but be on the lookout for June 25th. My band First Fragment will be releasing its first music video um, for the new album, and yeah, you'll hear my own musical style, but some of the things I've done on this song was done through the help of you. So will be a good way to advertise, if anything. But yeah, dude.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's really exciting. I didn't realize you guys had were able to film a music video, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Yeah, I'll be looking out for that. But yeah, if you are a guitarist or you have a bunch of guitars hanging out around your house and you want to now actually learn to play them properly, we'll put a link somewhere, probably in the description. You can click that link, take you to an application page where you can fill out a couple things, make sure it makes sense to have a free consultation call, or I'll be taking a look at your playing right now as well as where you want to go, and then we'll kind of put together a step-by-step solution to get there so that you can you'll be held accountable and reach some great results like Phil here. And yeah, we'll be in touch. But is there anything else you want to say about us working together, or just about your bands, or anything else you want to plug?
One thing I can say to finish off is that I've taken lessons from you, and I'll probably take lessons from you again in the future, because um, I'm always writing music. I'm always working on music, and um, like I said, I'm always trying to reinvent myself, and the best way to do that is to get more knowledge, more lessons, work on stuff, get to work, you know. So that's all I can say for now. I think other people that will work with you will probably do the same also. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, Phil, it's great to see you.
Yeah.
Hope to hear you're doing well, and yeah, we'll be in touch. Talk to you
Hell
anytime.
yeah. Will be, man.
No, it's seriously, it's good to catch up with you.
Yeah,
And
dude. Likewise.
looking
Likewise, man.
to that release with your music video. If anything else comes up, yeah, you can always holler, and I'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for today.
Of course, man. Anything to help.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Peace,
Have a
bro.
good day. Cheers.